Okay, so when you think of cardiac arrest, what's the first image that pops into your head? For a lot of us, it's that intense scene with a syringe of adrenaline, the ultimate miracle drug that's supposed to jolt a heart back to life. It's been a cornerstone of resuscitation for decades. But what if that miracle isn't so simple? What if the story is way more complicated than we thought?
And that brings us to the big question we're tackling today. We see adrenaline get a pulse back. That's short-term win. But what about the long game? What actually helps a patient not just survive, but walk out of the hospital and go home? It turns out this is a perfect case of our expectations clashing with a much trickier reality.
All right, to really get to the bottom of this whole controversy, we've got to start with the science. How is adrenaline actually supposed to work its magic? Because it's not just one simple action, it's a really powerful two-pronged attack on the body.
So you can basically break down what adrenaline does into two main jobs, what we call alpha effects and beta effects. The alpha effects, they're all about your blood vessels. Adrenaline causes what's called peripheral vasoconstriction. It literally squeezes the blood vessels in your arms and legs to force all that precious oxygenated blood back toward your core, protecting your brain and your heart. Then you have the beta effects, which work directly on the heart muscle itself.
The first of these beta effects has a cool name. It's the chronotropic effect. And an easy way to remember it is that it comes from the Greek word chronos, for time. So this effect is all about timing, or speed. It tells the heart to start beating faster.
And the second beta effect is the inotropic effect, which comes from a Greek word meaning muscle. So if chronotropic is all about speed, inotropic is all about strength. It makes the heart muscle contract or squeeze much more forcefully with every single beat.
Okay, so you've got a drug that pushes blood to your vital organs, makes your heart beat faster, and makes it squeeze harder. I mean, that sounds like the absolute perfect recipe for restarting a heart, right? Well, this is where the plot really thickens and the story takes a fascinating turn.
And look, let's be clear about one thing. The data shows, without a doubt, that giving adrenaline does increase the chance of what we call return of spontaneous circulation, or ROSC. In plain English, it's really good at getting a pulse back, at least for a little while.
But, and this is a huge but, getting a pulse back is only the first step. The real goal, the one that matters to every patient and every family, is survival with good brain function. You want to go home and be yourself. And on that front, the evidence tells a very, very different story.
And this is where you can literally see the paradox. That first bar, for return of pulse, it's high. Adrenaline absolutely helps with that. But look at the second bar, for survival with good brain function, it's dramatically lower. The evidence shows no real improvement. And in some cases, the neurological outcome is actually worse. This is the whole issue in a nutshell. We might be restarting the heart at the expense of the brain.
So what is going on here? Why this massive disconnect? If adrenaline is so good at getting the heart started, why isn't that leading to more people surviving and doing well?
Well, the leading theory takes us right back to that powerful alpha effect, the squeezing of the blood vessels. While pushing blood to the core sounds great, that intense constriction might also be happening on a microscopic level, inside the tiny, delicate blood vessels of the brain. So it could actually be choking off the blood supply and causing serious damage, even while the heart itself is starting to beat again.
So with all this conflicting evidence, what are doctors and paramedics supposed to do in the real world? This whole paradox has forced medical guidelines to evolve, to get smarter, and to find a way to balance these competing effects.
Today's guidelines make a really important distinction based on the patient's specific heart rhythm. For what we call non-shockable rhythms, like a flat line or asystole, adrenaline is still given early. But for shockable rhythms, where a defibrillator can be used, the priorities have shifted. The focus is now on immediate, high-quality CPR and getting that electrical shock delivered. Adrenaline is deliberately held back, giving the heart the best chance to respond to the shock first.
And just so you know, the standard dose we're talking about here is 1 milligram, typically given through an IV every 3 to 5 minutes. It's a tiny amount of fluid that has a massive impact on the body.
All of this brings us to what is maybe the single most important point. The research on adrenaline forces us to shift our focus away from looking for one single magic bullet drug and back to the fundamentals that we know, for a fact, make the biggest difference. And here they are. The true pillars of survival in cardiac arrest are not found in a syringe. They are high-quality, non-stop chest compressions and, when it's the right call, early defibrillation with an electrical shock. These are the basics, and they give a patient their absolute best shot.
So, when you boil it all down, the message is crystal clear. Adrenaline is a powerful tool, no doubt.
But it is not the simple miracle drug we once thought. The real heroes in this story are the basics. Good CPR and early defibrillation save lives.
You know, the story of adrenaline is such a powerful reminder that medicine is always learning, always evolving. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other things we take for granted, what other medical certainties are just waiting for the next big study to come along and challenge everything?